All right, everybody, to get our paint pouring party started, you are going to need to get your materials in order. You will be using acrylic paint today. Make sure that you get a hold of black and white. You're also going to need a pouring medium. That's something that you're going to mix into the acrylic paint to make it more liquidy and make it be able to slide and move around the canvas a lot better than if it were just paint. Depending on how many people are in your class and how many canvases we have for the year, you will either choose one canvas or multiple canvases to work with. You'll be sharing a set of a cookie sheet with a cooling rack on top with one other partner. This is where you're going to pour the paint over and you're going to let your canvas dry here as well. You're also going to need plastic cups of different sizes, teeny tiny ones and regular sized ones. That's where you mix up the paint and get it ready to pour on that canvas. You'll also be needing maybe some popsicle sticks, maybe some straws, depending on the technique that you choose to use for this paint pouring party. Everybody needs to wear a pair of disposable gloves today because, again, this is acrylic paint, it stains, and this is paint pouring, so it's very messy. Let's help the mess and wear gloves. Once you've gathered your materials, it's time to prep the paint and make it more liquidy so that it can move around the canvas as you tip the canvas back and forth. The magic of paint pouring can't happen unless you put a pouring medium into that paint. Choose up to 3 colors plus black and white for your painting. Make sure the colors are analogous colors that mix well. What we want to avoid are colors that are opposite of each other on the color wheel, such as the 3 complementary sets of colors, red and green, orange and blue, and yellow and purple. You do not want to mix those together. Those are too far apart on the color wheel to mix nicely. We want to choose probably a set of 3 next door neighbors on the color wheel. These are called analogous colors. For example, red, orange, yellow. Those would mix gorgeously. You could choose yellow, green, and blue because those are right next door to each other on the color wheel as well. You see what I'm saying? If you don't want to end up with mucky, dull colors, choose analogous colors for your color choices. Once you've chosen your 3 analogous colors for your first pour, you are going to measure out how much paint you'd like to put in each of the teeny tiny cups. Anytime you get paint for a pour, you are going to start with your colors in these little baby cups, and you need to measure how much paint you put into each one. You can use the measuring spoons for that job. However much paint you put into the baby cups, you need to add 3 times as much Liquitex, aka pouring medium, into the mixture. You can use a popsicle stick to combine them thoroughly. When you're done, your paint should have the same consistency as like pancake batter. If you were to tip over the cup, there should be a smooth pour that is continuous and kind of fast. It should be very liquidy at this point so that we can do the fun pouring part of this whole thing. After you've got your 3 bright colors that it should be analogous, plus black and white, and you've mixed in 3 times as much Liquitex into each of these little cups, it's time to start pouring. Pick up a canvas and make sure to write your name on the back of it so that you can retrieve it later when it's dry. Now, listen carefully as I teach you 3 different pouring techniques. The first one I'm going to teach you is called the splatter technique. Pour puddles of various colors all around the canvas. You don't need to cover the entire canvas, just put colors in many different places and even stack colors on top of each other. If you're seeing that some of your colors are pouring slowly, you will want to add more Liquitex to that paint. Even if you already added 3 times as much Liquitex, if it's not pouring well and fast, just pause, add some more Liquitex because it's not going to move around the canvas very well if it's not even coming out of the cup very well. Once you've got your paint poured and distributed around the canvas, pick it up and tilt that canvas back and forth to mix and spread the paint. Try not to pour the paint off of the canvas, just try to move it around. You can add more paint if needed by pouring it on, using a pipette, or adding it with a popsicle stick. Look out because over pouring or over tilting is going to result in muddied colors. And also try to make sure that all your pouring and all your tilting and all your drippings are landing on your cookie sheet cooling rack combo to protect the tables from this very messy paint. When you're done pouring and tilting, leave it completely flat on the cooling rack and don't even touch it for at least 24 hours. Failing to leave it still and flat is going to change or even ruin your design. Our next technique is the straw technique. This time you're going to pour a base color onto the canvas and spread it evenly with a popsicle stick. Pour up to 2 other colors, plus black and white, onto your base color. Blow air through a straw to move the paint around and mix it up. Remember to lay it flat on the cooling rack on top of a cookie sheet and don't touch it until at least tomorrow. Our final paint pouring technique that we're going to talk about today is stacking. What you're going to do is pour up to 3 different colors plus black and white into a bigger cup, creating about 10 layers of paint. Keep the cup still as you're pouring it to limit any mixing inside of this cup. Next, you're going to pick up the canvas and place it over the opening of the cup. Flip the whole thing over, keeping the cup gently pushing onto the canvas to avoid any paint escaping out of it. Allow the cup to sit on the canvas upside down for about 5 to 10 seconds. This allows the paint to drip down the sides of the cup. Now, remove the cup, pick up the canvas and tilt it around to move around that paint in order to cover the canvas face and all of the sides. Now that you know about 3 specific techniques for paint pouring, feel free to explore and combine multiple techniques into one. Make sure that your design is bright, beautiful, colorful, powerful, and make sure to have lots of fun while you experiment.